Imagine this. You're strolling through Facebook Marketplace, maybe looking for, I don't know, used furniture, and then you see it. Something totally unexpected.
Uh-huh.
An electric pickup truck. A really, really rare one. Listed for like half its original price.
Yeah, less than 300 miles on it, too. Practically brand new in terms of mileage.
It's wild. And this isn't just some random EV, it's the Lordstown Endurance.
Exactly. A name that probably rings a bell for anyone following the EV startup space. A lot of hype, and then, well, problems.
Right. So we found this great article detailing this specific truck showing up for sale. And our mission today really is to unpack this whole situation. What was the Endurance?
What made it interesting? What made it tricky?
Yeah, why is it so darn rare?
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, what are you really getting into if you think about buying this piece of history? Or maybe just a very expensive paperweight.
It's definitely a fascinating look at, the sharp end of trying something new in the car world. Big risks involved.
Huge risks. It really shows how fast things can change when you're pushing new tech.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the basics of this find. It popped up on Facebook Marketplace, you said?
Yep, Facebook Marketplace. The seller is apparently located in Linden, Michigan.
And the condition? Basically untouched.
Pretty much. The listing says less than 300 miles. I mean, that's nothing. Delivery miles, almost.
And the price really jumps out at you, $32,000.
Right, $32,000, which sounds potentially amazing until you see the original window sticker.
Which was?
$65,520, $65,520. So yeah.
Exactly half price.
Precisely half.
So on paper, you're thinking, half price for a modern electric truck with no miles, sign me up.
You would think that. But there's a lot more to the story, as the article makes really clear. The Lordstown Endurance, it comes with baggage.
Definitely. Okay, so let's back up a bit. Remind us, what exactly was this truck supposed to be?
So it was designed as a full-size electric pickup, built or intended to be built in Ohio by Lordstown Motors.
In that old GM plant.
That's the one. And it had this one really unique piece of technology, something you basically never see on production cars.
The in-wheel motors.
That's the one. 4 of them. An electric motor built right into the hub of each wheel. Super, super rare for anything that actually gets sold to the public.
And having one motor per wheel, that automatically gives you all-wheel drive, right?
Inherently, yeah. All-wheel drive. And the total power output, the peak, was claimed at 550 horsepower.
Okay, so decent power, really innovative drive system. What about the rest of the specs? Battery, charging.
It had a pretty big battery pack, actually, 109 kilowatt hours.
That's substantial. Comparable to other big EV trucks.
It is. And the charging capability was okay, too. Up to 150 kilowatters on a DC fast charger, 11 kilowatters on level 2 AC charging. So, modern standard.
Sounds competitive so far. But there's always a but, isn't there?
There is. And this is where the article points at a really major flaw. The efficiency. It was, terrible.
How bad are we talking?
Just 1.4 miles per kilowatt hour.
Oof. 1.4? With a 109 kilowatt hour battery?
Yeah. It's shockingly low.
So what does that translate to in terms of actual range?
That's the killer. The EPA rated range, despite that big battery, was only 174 miles.
Wow, 174 miles. For a full-size truck, that's really limiting. Especially if you actually wanted to use it as a truck.
Massively limiting. You're not going far. You're not towing far. It really kneecaps the utility.
Okay, so innovative tech, alright power, big battery, but terrible range. Could it still do the basic truck things, though? Towing, hauling?
Well, the specs said it could. Towing capacity was listed at 8,000 pounds.
Which isn't bad.
Not bad at all. And it had a 5-foot 8-inch bed, usable size. So, you could theoretically haul stuff.
And it had that power outlet feature too, right? Like some other EVs.
Yeah, it could output power up to 400 watts from a standard 120 volt outlet, which is, handy for tools or camping or whatever.
So the basic truck utility was sort of there.
Yeah.
Just severely hampered by that range.
Exactly. The potential was there, but the reality was constrained.
Which I guess brings us neatly to why seeing one for sale is such a big deal. Why are they so rare?
Well, because Lordstown Motors. They didn't make very many. The company actually went bankrupt before they really ramped up production.
How many did they end up building?
The article states fewer than 40 units. 40.
Fewer than 40?
Yeah.
Seriously. I remember them talking about building like 500 initially.
Yeah, that was the plan, or at least the claim. The reality was much, much smaller. Very few ever actually got made and delivered.
And the company itself.
Gone. Kaput. The production facility is shuttered. This truck isn't just rare, it's an orphan. Its
Uh.
manufacturer doesn't exist anymore.
Right. And that is the massive flashing warning sign for anyone seeing that $32,000 price tag and thinking it's a bargain. What are the actual risks here?
Well, first, just looking back, the truck already had issues even in its short life. The article mentions a couple of recalls.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
One was for the electronic parking brake. Another, more worrying perhaps, was for a high voltage cable connection that could apparently fail and cause a loss of power while driving.
Yikes. Not exactly confidence inspiring, especially on vehicles with barely any miles.
Not at all. Suggests some fundamental problems right out of the gate. But the real challenges are looking forward.
Okay, what are we talking about? Parts, service.
Exactly. Both are huge problems. Parts availability. It's going to be incredibly difficult, maybe impossible for some things.
I mean, maybe some basic mechanical bits are shared with old GM stuff from that plant.
Possibly some very basic chassis parts, maybe. But all the unique EV stuff. Those in-wheel motors made by that company, Elafi. Good luck finding one of those.
And what about the other EV components? The inverter, the battery management system, all that complex electronics.
Total question mark. The article points out it's unclear who even supplied some of those key components. So finding replacements if one fails, it's going to be a treasure hunt with probably no treasure at the end.
Okay, so parts are a nightmare. What else?
This might be the biggest hurdle, actually. Diagnosis.
Meaning figuring out what's wrong if it breaks.
Precisely. According to the source article, there is no diagnostic tool available for this truck. Anywhere. Not at dealers, because there are none, not aftermarket. Nothing.
Wait, seriously, no way to plug it in and read error codes?
Apparently not. So if a warning light comes on or some system starts acting weird, there's literally no way for anyone to interface with the truck's computers to figure out what the problem is.
Wow. So you could have a fault, maybe even a simple one, but you just can't diagnose it.
You're completely in the dark, which leads to the article's rather stark conclusion about what happens if something significant goes wrong.
It becomes a brick on wheels.
That's the phrase they used, and it sounds accurate. A very expensive, very rare brick. Without the ability to diagnose or get unique parts, a serious failure could just be the end of it.
It sounds like the person selling this particular one kind of gets this.
Oh, absolutely. The listing itself, according to the article, includes comments from the seller basically saying they want someone who understands the deal.
What do they say?
Things like, they don't want it driven in winter or even on dirty or dusty roads. They apparently said it's something to cherish.
Cherish. That word really changes things, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's not a truck to use, it's an object to, well, cherish. Like a museum piece or something.
exactly. It frames it perfectly. It's moved beyond being a vehicle and into the realm of being a collectible curiosity, precisely because of its rarity and, frankly, its impracticality.
It's an honest assessment, given everything we've just discussed.
Very honest.
And, Lordstown isn't totally unique in this kind of situation. The article puts it in context with other EV startups that ran into trouble, right?
Yeah, it mentions a few others, like the Fisker Ocean, which has had its own share of company drama.
Right. And Nikola's hydrogen truck efforts. Canoe with those pod-like EVs.
Rivals electric vans, too. It's sort of a pattern we've seen. Ambitious EV companies with interesting ideas that just couldn't cross the finish line into sustainable mass production and long-term support.
So when you look at this specific example, this Lordstown Endurance sitting there on Facebook, half price, innovative tech, but all these problems. What's the takeaway for you? What does it tell us?
I mean, it's such a clear lesson about what it really takes to bring a vehicle to market successfully. You can have cool, groundbreaking tech like those in-wheel motors. That's the exciting part.
Right.
But that's not enough, not even close. You need incredible amounts of money, manufacturing skill, reliable suppliers, quality control. And crucially, you need that long-term plan, service, parts, diagnostics. Without that complete package.
You end up with a fascinating failure almost.
Pretty much. It shows the gap between a cool concept and a viable product people can actually own and use for years. Lordstown just couldn't bridge that gap.
Yeah, it really hammers home that the cost of owning a car isn't just the price you pay up front. It's the whole ecosystem around it.
Absolutely. Can you keep it running? Can you fix it when it breaks? For this truck, the answer seems to be probably not.
So you have this truck that was, in some ways, ahead of its time with the motors, could do truck things, but it's crippled by bad efficiency and, more importantly, being completely orphaned by its maker. No support network at all.
That $32,000 price, it looks tempting, sure, but you have to ask, what's the real cost when a repair might be impossible at any price?
Yeah, the purchase price might be low, but the total cost of ownership could be, well, infinite if it bricks itself.
Or zero if you just park it and cherish it, I suppose.
Which really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? For you, the listener. Is a piece of automotive history like this innovative, incredibly rare, but deeply flawed and fundamentally unsupported actually worth owning,
Yeah.
even at half price? Especially if its main value now is just existing rather than being driven.